and welcome to the Hallmarkies Podcast. We are so glad that you joined us today. I'm Kari, your host, and I'm here with my friends Kami.
Hi, guys. I'm excited for this one.
And Caroline is here.
Hey, y'all. I'm excited too.
Yes, we're so excited because we rarely do this as a podcast. We really don't record one podcast per movie, but we do on a special occasion, and this to us was a special occasion. We we loved this movie. We really, really loved this movie and are excited to spend some time talking about it with you guys. And of course, the movie we're talking about is It Was Always You.
Kari, love is not strong enough of a word.
What word would you use?
Cherish.
Adore.
Absolutely. I mean, it's already deep into our hearts. This movie that premiered just a mere days ago, and we just love it. So, I mean, it premiered.
I see this movie going very far in the Hallmarkies Podcast Awards of 2021.
Oh,
of 2022, I mean.
Quite possibly. It already has gone far. We've heard that it was the most watched cable show on Saturday night with how many viewers?
2.5 million.
2.5 million. Wow.
And rising, we think, probably. 2.5 million and rising. I mean, before we get into the recap that we all want to jump into, let's talk about the hype that was It Was Always You. I mean, this movie was hyped up. When did we first hear that it was even a project on the horizon?
Like November, like
something like that. Yeah.
It's like right after When Calls the Heart finished like filming, and then like a couple days later, bam, like this movie.
It was coming. So when did you first hear it? You said in November, Caroline. And how did you hear? Were you online or where did you get
Instagram? Instagram. I saw the picture. I was like, oh.
Like already they had a promotional picture, right?
It was of Aaron in the cloth, like the costume, like area getting like costume fittings.
Awesome.
Like, I knew it was gonna be good.
Yeah, and you were there. What about you, Kami? When did you first hear, and what did you first think about it?
I think it was probably November, and I can't remember if I was on Instagram or Twitter, but it was a picture of Aaron and Tyler together, and I went, "Oh, doggy."
I mean, already we know Tyler Hines we are such big fans of his at the podcast. We voted him king of Hallmark movies at
had his name on our hand.
He had our names on his hand. I mean, that's loyalty.
I mean, his acceptance speech was just wonderful, and we just love everything that he's in, obviously, since he's our king of the podcast. But also, I mean, king of the Hallmark movies. Also, Nelson Wong, though. We voted
as the prince.
Yes, as the prince. And he is just a rising star in our eyes. And so to have two of them already, we knew would be on this project. We were so excited, let alone Aaron,
the queen, Erin Krakow, not queen on Hallmarkies Podcast, but let's face it, she is a queen of Hallmark.
Yes. And well, Caroline reminded me though, she was voted our Hallmarkies Podcast queen in 2019. Did you?
Yes, she was.
So
the series queen, series queen.
Right, the series queen. So we had high expectations already for them. I mean, what do you feel though when you see this in production? You know the cast and you like them already. You're starting to get more and more info about it. The hype is building. I mean, I can't help but admit a little bit of a sense of dread.
Yeah.
This is better be good. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Absolutely. I'm gonna talk like an actor for a second. I hope you'll forgive me, but I've said this before and I'll say it again. Tyler Hynes has this unique style that reminds me so much of Robert Downing Jr.
Oh,
He has the casual sarcasm that he's just carrying on a conversation.
Yeah.
You would never know that he ever picked up a script. Everything is so natural and so easy flowing with him. And then he can create chemistry with a post. You know, he's one of those very gifted actors that he can create chemistry if he had a wooden post in front of him instead of a woman. So now put an incredibly talented actress like Erin Krakow in front of him, and
Magic.
the two of them have the potential to be dynamite. And so you want it to be a hit so badly. And if it's not a hit, you feel like you're going to die inside, you know?
absolutely. And we've seen this too. We just were talking about this with the winter recap. Remember, Caroline? Anne was saying you can have two really great actors in this whole production, but if the writing is subpar, you start to see it, and you do start to notice it as the movie goes on. So even
there's only so much an actor can do to save a script if it's not that good.
Yeah. So we didn't necessarily know. I wasn't super familiar with the writer of this, but it is based on a book. And so sometimes those work, sometimes they don't. I mean, there was a little bit of a trepidation in my heart about like, oh, this better be good. This better be good.
Well, Kari, here's the other thing about trepidation. I don't really care for the plot lines where the person is engaged and then falls in love with somebody else. I personally don't care for those storylines, because already engaged, if they're dating somebody, it's but I usually I'm okay. But if they're engaged to somebody and fall in love with somebody else, that kind of bothers me, because engagement is serious business. And so that was a big trepidation for me. Like, I've got to like this movie. It's got Erin, it's got Tyler, but the plot line, she's engaged to his brother.
Yeah.
I think they can pull it off, but
the brother part made me nervous.
The brother, yes.
Because Caroline posted a picture of like a scene from the movie, but we didn't know what scene and when and stuff. Well, it ends up they're cuddling on the couch eating popcorn, which now we know that's the happy ending. But they're cuddling on the couch eating popcorn, and Caroline
didn't know when that happened.
I know. I like texted her, and I was like, this brother fiance better die in the first scene if this is how cozy they're getting, because I cannot handle it if they're engaged and they're getting this cozy with each other. The other brother, like, he better die.
Hand on his chest like that. I was like, okay.
I know. And him feeding her popcorn. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so how relieved were you, Caroline, then when the movie actually delivered?
I was so relieved. I was like, yes. Like, I didn't know if it was just me and my love for like Erin. Like, oh, this is amazing. And then like I got to talk to people about this movie. And then when you said you loved it, I'm like, yay.
I did. Well, because we're on like this whole group, and we talk about movies and stuff. All of us Hallmarkies podcast hosts, and we just have fun together. But not everyone had seen it on Saturday night, and so I know you and I had to text and be like, I loved it. It was amazing. Oh my gosh.
We gushed for like an hour.
So much fun. So much fun. So let's get into it.
Okay, before we get into it,
sure.
I have a very shocking announcement to make about this movie. So I watched it live Saturday night. I quit tweeting several times because I was glued to the screen and I couldn't stop. So that was hysterical. Came back to my room, and my husband was there, and he said, so how was it? oh, yeah, I immediately start gushing and I say, Will, you have to watch this movie with me. And he goes, are you sure you want me to? I said, yes, this is one you'll like. I promise. And he's so skeptical. He doesn't care for Hallmark. And, it's a few and far between when he likes it. But then I'm watching it to prepare for the podcast because, oh, darn, I got to watch it again. So it's fresh in my head, right? I got to take all my notes.
Right.
And so he's watching 3 minutes. He watched 3 minutes while I was reviewing it. And he said, Kami, I want to watch this movie with you. I went, ha! Yes, I told you so.
Magic.
So Tyler Hines and Aaron Krakow worked their magic on my husband.
That's a winner.
Awesome.
That's a winner.
That is shocking. That is very shocking news. I love that. I know there are men out there who love Hallmark movies. My father is.
Why can't I be married to them?
You are married to the right guy.
I am married to the right guy. I just got to get him in the right circumstance.
And then it's more precious, when he appreciates the movie that you like. That's so cool.
Absolutely.
Very good. Very cool. Well, okay. So just in case someone's listening to this podcast wondering if they should watch it, I do need to read like the synopsis and tell you who wrote it and everything like that. So let's go over that real quick. This is the synopsis that is on IMDb, but also on the Hallmarkies, the Hallmark app. And it's a really funny, after watching the movie, it's a funny synopsis. But anyway, here it is. It was always Elizabeth, the main character, Elizabeth's engagement plans are thrown into disarray when her fiance's brother returns home. His unexpected influence prompts Elizabeth to question her life decisions. And Elizabeth, of course, is played by Aaron Krakow, and Tyler Hines plays the brother David. The director is Michael Robison, and the writer is Kathy Cloves. So there we go. Those are the details of the movie as we know them. We'll talk about supporting roles later in the podcast here. But first impressions, Caroline, what did you think of this movie? What were your general thoughts about it?
That it was so cute and just gave me all the feels. And I usually don't cry during Hallmark movies, but I cried during this movie. So yes, I'll have to go into more of that later. But it was just amazing and cute. And I need Tyler and Aaron in all the movies because they're just amazing. Christmas in a room. They need to make that.
That would be awesome. Okay, great. So, Kami?
Incredible. There are 3 reasons why I completely adored this movie.
Great.
Maybe 4. Number 1, the character of Elizabeth really resonated with me. A lot of my life I felt has been planned out for me. And I am now getting into that point, which is funny. I've been married for almost 13 years, and now I'm getting to the point where I feel like I need to break out. I need to change things. And so her character really, really resonated with me. Number 2, their chemistry was off the charts, completely off the charts.
Yeah.
Number 3, he said so many things that spoke to my soul.
Oh.
I was sobbing at the end. Like Caroline, I'm usually laughing, maybe getting a little aw or a little misty-eyed. I have not cried this hard since Cranberry Christmas.
Yes.
And I was sobbing. I was crying so hard. It touched me so deeply. And then number 4, I am a sucker for childhood sweethearts. I've loved you this long. we've known each other all our lives storylines. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's great. I mean, you hit on a couple things that I really loved about it too. The writing. I really, really loved the writing.
It was incredible. I couldn't write down the lines that I liked fast enough because they were all fantastic.
After watching it so many times, like I catch different different quotes and stuff. I'm like, oh, like.
Yes. I know. I mean, but they pulled it off. It was so natural too. It was not stiff. It was not forced. It was really, really natural. Like, yeah, that's what they would say in that situation, you know? So I thought the writing was so superb. Many funny moments, many heartfelt moments. The set design was gorgeous.
Oh,
amen.
I thought that treehouse was spectacular.
Incredible.
It really was. Kari, if I could go back to the script really quick.
Yeah.
One thing about it is you can't, and this is a testament to the acting and the script writing. You can't tell what was scripted and what was improv.
Yeah.
And that I think is incredible. It's incredible integration of improv into the story, and it also has to be good writing for it to be pulled off that way. The writing was amazing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think that you can't get better writing than this on
no.
You really can't. I mean,
it was fresh too. It felt like
Mhm.
even though I think she wrote one Hallmark movie before, it felt like it was just new to Hallmark to me. Like, and that's what I love. Like when a movie feels fresh.
Yes.
Like,
It
so
did.
even though the fiance brought falling in love like that is like happens before, it's just it felt new to me, and that's because of the writing.
I'll tell you why I think it felt fresh.
Yeah.
Because they waited a year.
That's what that helps so much.
I was blown away by that. I thought
too.
that she was going to break up with him and run to David.
Me too.
And I was just waiting for that to happen. Like, I'll accept it. I'll accept it. I'll accept it.
It's Aaron,
and then she took the year off. He wasn't begging her to come and be with him. He was begging her to find herself and to return to the joy that she felt. And she needed to find the way that would happen for her. That just happened to include him. But she went away. She went away for a year and she traveled and she experienced. And then when she came back, he came back, they reconnected and fell in love.
Yeah, they were ready for each other.
That was brilliant.
It really was. It didn't make it so cringy. Like, okay, she just left one brother and went to the next one.
Bingo.
I totally agree. I thought that was a really, really nice development in the script because it kept the character development going. Even though we that whole year, we knew we can anticipate what happened. You know, wow, she went to Paris. She went to
London,
Italy.
Right. And wrote these postcards. That was really, really well done, I thought, of Kathy Cloves. Good job, Kathy.
So all the awards.
Exactly. The one older movie that I just has a special place in my heart is Sabrina. Movie Sabrina. I love all the versions of that one. The Julia Ormond one.
I was just watching it the other night. I love this.
It's so good. So this one kind of had a little bit of those undertones to me, you know.
Yeah.
The girl from the dysfunctional home and the neighbors come in and move next door, and she kind of idolizes them and everything they have and who they are, wants to be a part of it somehow, thinks it's through this one brother, but truly it's the other brother that's a better fit for her. And it's all very fairy tale like, and so I loved it. I really loved those Sabrina vibes I got from this movie. That was very fun. Okay, so should we save our rating for after, or should we just kind of just get the rating out of the way and then dive in deeper to some of the scenes?
Let's rate it. Okay,
let's do it. Kami, what do you rate this movie?
4.9.
Great.
There are a couple of little tiny things that I may have done differently, but not much.
almost perfect score from Kami. That is fantastic. Yep. Caroline, what about you?
Dun, dun, dun. 5 stars.
I was wondering if you would knock anything off of that 5-star review, but you didn't.
No, everything was good. Even the dog. The grandma's my favorite. Like, just everything.
That's awesome. Well, I would go 4.75 only because, and maybe I should do a 4.9, but I'll stick with my 4.75. Like you said before, the fiance trope is not my favorite. I do think they did this one well. I do think that it became more about her discovering herself rather than jumping right to the next relationship.
Right.
So to me, it turned out well, but there are just some uncomfortable moments when you've given your hand to someone else, but your heart is free for the taking for this other guy. So anyway, that's that last teeny little thing I'm going to say about that, because 4.75 of me really loved it. So that's my rating. That's my rating on this movie. It was always you.
It was
wonderful.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. They're the good folks over at the Bundle Game and Hardy's Ass Bundle Listen. From the creators of the Countdown to Christmas Hallmark Channel board game, there's now an official When Calls the Heart board game. Test your When Calls the Heart knowledge, recall your favorite show moments, and celebrate season 8.
This game is so much fun. Like the name 4 card, name your 4 favorite episodes of When Calls the Heart.
Not sure if I could narrow it down to just 4.
Or this acted out card, Love Triangle.
That's a fun one.
You can have these and many other cards in this fun game, When Calls the Heart board game. You can get your game at www.thebundlegame.com. Enter code Hallmarkies Podcast for free shipping. That's both words, Hallmarkies Podcast, free shipping. It's really fun. All kinds of trivia and fun stuff about your favorite show. So make sure to check out the When Calls the Heart board game at the www.thebundlegame.com. Enter code Hallmarkies Podcast for free shipping.
Okay, so to try not to gush over this movie scene by scene, we have really, we're going to try not to do that. So we've come up with a few kind of just like inroads to help us go a little deeper and to pull out our favorite type of thing from the movie here without going scene by scene. But so let's start talking about that though. Let's talk a little deeper about Elizabeth's character development. Where do we find her at the beginning of the movie?
Can I start with that first shot? Can I
I was going to say the same thing.
That I love camera angles when they are done creatively, and that first camera shot just going out of the gate with her looking into the camera like it's her patient's mouth, it catches you off guard. It's a startling start and it immediately attracts your interest. And then
the patient.
And then let's talk about the patient, Ben Rosenbaum, another resident of Hope Valley as Mike Hickam. Is like, this is a Hardy's movie.
That was a fun surprise. That really
was. And it took me a couple seconds to recognize him. The wavy hair and the facial hair. I was like, wait a minute, I know that voice.
I was kind of expecting Ben, because I read the cast list on
I didn't
press thing, and I saw Ben on there, and I wasn't expecting him to be the patient though. I didn't think right off the bat like Ben, but I loved it, and it was cute.
Yeah,
that was really cute. So we find her in her dental practice that she owns with George, her fiance, and she's very put together. She has a very tailored outfit on. She has these crisp high heels, and right away talking with the dental hygienist, she references a list, which is definitely Elizabeth's MO throughout the whole movie. She's a list keeper, a rule follower,
double spaced.
And she has everything together. They say have fun on your vacation, and she's like, oh, it's not going to be vacation. I mean, you kind of get her where she's at right away in this first scene. And she comes a long way. She really does.
Well, and what I love is even though she is very strict and straight and very list oriented, when her patient talks about ziplining in South America, she's intrigued.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's just that hint of longing
Mhm.
without being too much, because then she just kind of squashes the idea. Oh, well, Dr. Belling and I would never do that. But
Mhm.
it's there.
Mhm.
It's there as something that intrigues her, so that her transformation, if you will, isn't so stark.
Right.
Mhm.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. But she does shut it down right away a little bit, that
Oh yeah.
some honeymoon because of George. So George, first impressions of George.
George.
I love Giles though. Like he's one. Like I love watching him in movies.
Oh,
So it was cute to see him. I'm like, oh, he needs to find love. Like
he does. Denise.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But
Well, I that's what
you could tell it was gonna be like he's gonna be a stiff guy. Like as soon as you saw them, you're like, okay, dude, like you need to relax.
exactly. But knowing that he, you didn't know they had history just yet until she explained it to her friend, how they met and stuff like that. But I thought this movie did a really good job at saying, not that this guy was wrong and the way he did things and straight-laced and he liked going to dental conferences for fun, not that that was wrong, but he was wrong for her, So I thought they did a good job at that. Like,
It's not wrong to want to go to dental conferences for fun on weekends, Carrie.
And not travel the world. I mean,
Dentists love dental conferences. I get it. I mean, I don't know. That's what I learned from this movie.
When he was talking to Denise and they were talking about how helping out with a crown was fun, like, oh boy. Okay, I know where this is going. And I mean, can somebody please explain to me how it is not a red flag when you cannot dance with your fiance in a private setting?
Yeah.
And all you can say is, are we finished yet?
But that's the thing. It was a red flag for her.
Exactly. Yes.
She had to compare it to, David and stuff, but she liked
David.
She kind of didn't realize herself that she liked dancing yet.
No, because they never did it.
She never did
She didn't real. I mean, she even said, I didn't even realize you could go weak in the knees until.
And she said, George, and the waitress was like, yeah. Oh man. So the thing about George that got me, I was like, okay, I was a little relieved that we teed him up for the real love of his life, Denise. I mean, that one people we saw a mile away, I was glad about that. But also, they did what I call the cheek kiss of death. They did the cheek kiss of death. Killing any sort of romance for me ever. Just kissed her on the cheek twice. I mean, there you go.
Fiance, you don't do that.
Fiance, like kiss her on the mouth.
Go for it, George.
Do you know how many people? I mean, I'm laughing at this because I would probably say something like this. Do you know how many people die from ziplining? No? Well, neither do I, but I bet it's a lot. I mean, I'm terrified of heights. So ziplining is not something that I would be interested in doing. But this man wasn't interested in doing anything.
I heard that dental conference.
Yeah. Another seminar. No, George. It's just,
I mean, bless his heart. He was a little bit of a dull guy from the start, but that was okay.
My husband walked in the room and he said, he looks like he could belong to your ex-boyfriend's family. And I looked at him, I went, oh my gosh, you're right. So that just got me laughing even harder because Because then Will says, this is a parallel of our story because that's the wrong man for her.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. You're right.
So yeah, that was funny.
So funny. Well, okay, let's talk about chemistry. Let's jump into chemistry and all these moments that we are just dying to talk about.
Zing.
Zing. Zing. Yes. So we have David, and it's not the first time they meet, but it is the first time we see them on camera together. And I mean, the ice cream shop. She goes in with her list and she orders this.
Order exhausted me.
I know. I was like, how did you even think of that rationally? Like,
it was a crazy order. It was hilarious. And then he comes in and he writes a note right away. He lifts his head.
Tyler's facial expressions are so funny.
Here she is. There she is.
Mm-hmm.
There she is. So we're introduced to David, who obviously is Tyler Hines, and he is just super, super great, super handsome right there behind the ice cream counter. Now he's opening his ice cream and eating it because he didn't order his for a party. He just ordered his for the afternoon, I guess. Like, such free spirit. So, yes. So now we're introduced to their character here, or this new character here that we like right away. But there's so many laugh out loud moments in this movie. What was 1, 2 maybe of your favorite laugh out loud moments? Caroline?
Well, whenever he ate the peanut butter cake and then he just pretends to like die, like, and I lost it. Like, I was like, that is so
well, and then he says,
funny.
I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah. And her face was like, I'm going to kill you. Like, I'm going
that
to
was
kill
so
you.
mean.
And then my second favorite part was the oyster bar scene whenever she's dancing and she's burning her lip. I was like, I died. I'm like, okay.
My 5-year-old niece, 7-year-old niece, I'm sorry, when a couple weeks ago we saw a preview for this movie, and it was the dancing scene with Aaron, and she goes, we're watching it, no one said anything, and she goes, well, that's embarrassing. I was like, oh yeah, it's supposed to be. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be. She's not a good dancer right now. He needs to teach her. So those are great. Those are great laugh out loud moments, Caroline. Love it. Kami.
My laugh out, I had so many. Like I said, I mean, look at all of this. I was writing as fast as I could because he quips. He just quips constantly quipping and just making all of these funny remarks. I couldn't keep up. My hand is cramping. You know, but
so choose a few. What are your highlights?
I got it. So after the solar eclipse, which of course was hysterical, after the solar eclipse, when she ignores the phone call from George, and then he's saying, ignore it. Okay, I can't believe you just did that. You told me to. Oh, you're such a troublemaker, going straight to jail. It was funny. And then the rope ladder, just fast pace. May I make a suggestion? No. Okay.
Yeah.
You're looking at me. Yes, ma'am. It's then okay. The very, very end. That moment was so when they were about to have their first kiss. That moment was so intense, so romantic, so dramatic, and she backs him off from kissing her to say, dance with me, and they start dancing, and then in perfect Tyler fashion,
that was
I really thought I was gonna kiss. I really thought I was gonna get a kiss out of that. I died.
Me too.
I was laughing so hard. I could not believe that he said that, but at the same time, it was perfect. It was so perfect.
I had to rewind that like 5 times and put the closed caption on my phone, and I'm like, what did he say? I'm like, that's so good.
Yes. Oh my word.
My closed caption on my screen didn't even pick it up, and I had to ask my husband, who was sitting next to me. I was like, what did he say? And he said the line, and he was like, I don't blame him. The guy's been planning that line since he was 13 years old.
This isn't a laugh out loud moment, but it's more of a oh moment. It could have ended there. It could have ended right there, and it would have been considered a good movie. And it kept going, and it had that final scene of them watching her dating show in the tree house, and then just him feeding her popcorn.
And after the fourth time I watched it, I noticed that she had the rabbit's foot in her lap during that final scene.
Oh,
good spotting. Good job.
Thank you. It was for research, okay?
Total research.
I was not obsessed or anything.
Well, I do think that's an example of how this movie did go above and beyond and gave us more than what we wanted, more than what we hoped for. You know, it could have ended, but it gave us that final scene. And I think two of my laugh out loud moments. One was the ladder that you said, Kami. I loved that line where she was like, I can't do this with you watching me.
Of course. Yes, ma'am.
I thought that exact same thing. I was like, is he just going to stand there and watch her? And then just couldn't do it. So I loved that scene. But also there was, this is like not even a B character, but maybe like a C or D character. DJ Joey was hilarious. DJ Joey is trying to give the pitch, and he's trying to meet with clients, and all the while his mom in the background is like, Joey, the dog needs to go out. He's like, Mom, I'm with a client. I just thought that was so funny. And they didn't need to give us that gem, but they did. It was so funny. So funny. So
you know who that is, don't you?
I don't.
You don't. Okay. That is, I'm pulling up his name, but he is Teenage Harold on How to Fall in Love with Eric Mabius and Brooke Dorsey.
That was a long time ago.
And he is also the little brother on Harvest Moon with Jesse Hutch and Jesse Schramm.
That's
Rowan Kahn. His hair is so much longer in this movie. I like him better in short hair, but that's beside the point. But
I thought he was great. I thought DJ Joey was great.
He was fantastic.
History.
I knew I saw his face somewhere before. I can't remember, but that was it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good. Okay, so let's dig a little deeper in these swoony moments. What line, what scene, what interaction made you swoon? Kami?
The first time that I swooned, it was slight, but I swooned. He kept the rabbit's foot from middle school. He passes it off as being annoying. You know, he passes it off as being annoying, but when he said, "It's yours," all through middle school, I went, "What?" You know? And it shows a tiny little snippet of how sentimental this free spirit is, quote unquote. He's incredibly sentimental. And then, all right, so I wrote this entire thing down because I couldn't resist. I would take her on a boat at sunset, of course, take her in my arms and say, all I love, all I ever need is you. Without you, my love, I am lost. Every time I look at you, I'm breathless. Every time I hold you in my arms, I'm home. I loved you yesterday. I love you today. I love you tomorrow. Oh gosh, I'm gonna cry. And then at the very end, you asked me if I've ever been in love just once. And then he says it again. That is when I started sobbing. That is when I started sobbing. And then the other like I said, there were a million of them, but the other really big swoony moment for me was when he said, it's okay for you to choose your own happiness. Because number one, I wanted to know what was in that book, because the second he asked for the book back, I was like, wait a minute. Why did he ask for the book back? But he goes into this whole very passionate speech on her behalf.
Yeah.
And he says, it's okay for you to choose your own happiness. And I started crying. I just started crying.
Yeah. So sweet. So sweet. Caroline, what about you? Your swoony moments. What
I have a lot, just like Kami, but one of my all-time favorites is when they're slow dancing at DJ Joey's house. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, what is happening? Like, it was so good. And then the book, the Italy book, when they were talking about that, I was like, okay, dude, like, you're the best. And the ending, it made me swoon. But him, like, trying to, like, when he held her hand at the engagement party, I was like, dude, what are you doing to me? Like, oh, it was just so sweet.
Medic.
Yeah.
I love that too, that handhold. They almost didn't even realize they were holding hands still, you know, and then they kind of did, and then they dropped. I really swoon at some of these, maybe definitely the obvious ones, definitely I love those, but some of those small ways that he showed her he was just really caring about her. He said, you know, he kind of made fun of her lists a little bit, like, oh, you have a list for this, you have a list for that. But as soon as she realized she forgot her list at DJ Joey's house, he was like, all business. Should we go back? Is it in the car? You know, like, it wasn't that he was trying to change her. He was just trying to lighten her up a little bit, you know? So I really love little lines like that he was just trying to be, he was just very affectionate with her and with his words and stuff. Words are a big deal. But I love that. I love that first time they watched TV together where he said, you know, oh, you want to watch something else? You know, what do you want to watch? And she's like, I kind of want to watch this dating show. And he's like, let's do it. And she's like, really? And then she's excited, you know, to watch it. And then he does that whole speech that Kami wrote down. Oh, I love that. I love it. And she's looking at him like, are you kidding me right now? Yeah. Are you kidding me? You pulled that out of nowhere. Are you kidding?
Okay, Kari, I'm going to read your mind right now, because I am betting I know another scene where you swooned if words are really big for you.
Which one?
Registering.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Love the registry.
That's so cute.
It's when you can feel her shift.
Yeah.
It's the first time that you can feel her shift.
At the toasters.
Yes.
So cute.
Yes. I mean, and it's such a little thing, but this is the kind of situation that as an actor, you just crave, because words on a page, meaningless. I don't want a 4-slice toaster. I want a 2-slice toaster. No big deal, right? But you put the context behind it, and you put her full meaning behind it, and you put this transformation of feelings behind it, and she's getting very, very passionate about it. And then, I mean, that scanner slipping. What else you want? Beep,
beep.
And they both look at each other. Oh my gosh, I know we saw that in the previews coming up, and I almost was mad that they ruined that scene for me, because I loved that scanner scene. But that one, and also I love the when they're talking about vanilla, and he's like, I think you're a Neapolitan ice cream sundae.
Yeah.
And later she's like, you think I'm dull, don't you? Dull vanilla. And he's like, that's not what I said. Like, he thinks she's a Neapolitan ice cream sundae, you know?
With sprinkles and a cherry.
And she wants to be a little chocolate and strawberry. I'm like, oh.
And he's like, I know. I love those. I love those swoony moments. I mean, can't get any better than that with these two. So,
and let's not forget that he threw the humor in there and beep on the golden pigs with wings.
But that's it. Like humor is swoony too. It's not.
Oh yeah.
Swoon of humor. So we talked about this a tiny bit, like just alluded to the fact that you guys had a moment where you broke down, you cried. You don't do that often in Hallmark movies, but this one got you. When did it get you, Caroline? When did you cry?
The first time I cried was when she danced with George, and they're dancing, and like you could see her face, and like and he's like, "Is it time to stop?" Wow, I just started crying. I'm like, poor Elizabeth. And then I cried when he came up and said, like, I loved you yesterday, I love you today, and I'll love you like tomorrow. I was like, okay, like, dude, like, you're too perfect. But that's that first time I cried was when she danced with George. I was like, it's on TV right now, and it's going to make me cry right now.
Oh, that I actually think that's really precious that you cried during the her dance with George. You're so empathetic. You're so kind-hearted that way, and you really felt her pain. I think there that was very sweet. Oh, Kami, what about you?
Can I keep it together now? So I shed a tear or two when they were dancing under the disco ball, because that was just, she is shifting and she's trying to still be the stiff list carrier. And he says, "Oh, what's going on down here?" and he's talking her through it, and he smooths it out, and he eases her into it, and kind of gives her a play-by-play, and then just eases closer, and before you know it, they're hug dancing. And so that's when I shed a tiny little bit. That's when I got misty-eyed. That's when I got my Hallmark misty-eyed. I flat out cried when here we go. I flat out cried when he said, "What do you want? And it's okay for you to choose your own happiness." And then I even wrote it down. See, I said cried right there. I wrote down when I cried. It happened and I wrote it. You never found my note. You asked me if I've ever been in love. Just once, and I never stopped. I loved you yesterday. I love you today. I love you tomorrow.
Perfect wedding vows, okay?
Oh my gosh, I know. And it's just, I have such a romantic heart, and I think with my heart, I think with my head when necessary, but I follow my heart. I think with my heart. I have such romantic sensibilities. So when someone speaks to my feelings like that, I'm gone. I'm gone.
And then this, like you said, this had been like a line after line in the movie. So this really was a build up, but
yes,
to this heart connection, this climax at the end where he said, "I don't blame you, girl. That was precious." It was so precious. I mean, that's when I kind of, I didn't sob, but that's when I kind of just like, oh, I got that tear in my eye when you realized it was always you. The title belonged to him. It
belonged to him. I so thought it was going to belong to her, but it belonged to him.
It was his title. I didn't realize that until, you're into the movie later and you realize he's the one with unrequited love his whole life. He's the one who has held on. She's just
what 13-year-old boy does that?
It was
David.
Amazing. It was amazing. So that's kind of when he said it was always you. And I was like, oh my word, this is his story. And we're just seeing it from her perspective. Now I need the reverse. I need the movie in his perspective.
Oh, please. Please. Yes.
I need that. I need that B-side here of this DVD because that is what I want. Anyway, that's a few scenes that we love. Oh my goodness. So how did you feel about, I mean, this storyline, this story arc that just gets layered and layered and layered for Elizabeth and David. I mean, I just thought it was so well done. It started antagonistic, but then you realize why. And, you know, you're just so rooting for them at the end, and you just can't imagine them with anybody else. I mean, what did you feel about that?
I will admit that rock music at 2 a.m. I don't care if you're on Tibetan time, you jerk. Turn it down. I was like, okay, that's rude. That's mean. Bad man.
I know we can't all be. I mean, I guess he's not perfect, you know. So that one little thing was maybe a favor. Did us a favor.
It keeps us from putting him up on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Well, let's talk about the supporting cast. There were so many familiar faces.
Yes.
Nelson Wong, like we had said, and Giles Panton,
Yep.
Paula Shaw. Let's see, a couple. Frances Flanagan, who was the mom.
Yes, she is amazing.
Yeah. So many wonderful characters. Who was your favorite? Who was your favorite supporting character?
Grandma.
Grandma.
I love her. I need her.
Well, because grandma can say everything that everyone else is afraid to say.
And that's just like my grandma. Like
Yeah.
she would, maybe that's why I love her so much.
Okay.
But I need grandma, is it Grandma Vivian, right? Grandma Vivian.
Yeah.
I need her to time travel
Yeah.
to 1917 and have a little zing talk with Elizabeth Thornton.
Awesome.
So,
Elizabeth Hall. Elizabeth Hall got the zing talk,
mhm.
and now Elizabeth Thornton needs the zing talk,
From
right?
Grandma Vivian, yeah.
If anyone could do it, it would be this grandma.
It would.
Yeah, I love her. She was my favorite. And I also loved Louise. I love seeing Louise's story arc throughout the movie because she had a lot of growth too, I thought.
Yeah, she did. And it just kind of gave us a little bit of a background. She had 2 broken engagements. She was, she's the middle child, I believe, of the 2, George, Louise, David. Maybe
I think
maybe
yeah.
I have, but she's an artist. She had that artist sensibilities in mind. She lost her keys all the time, you know, that type of thing. And she wasn't done yet with love, although she thought she was, but the family really helped her out there. Yeah, she had a great storyline. You're right. Kami, what about you? What supporting characters?
Oh gosh, so hard. I'm gonna go with George because Giles played him so well. I have so much respect for Giles. He plays the other man so often, but he does it like a champ.
Yeah.
You know, whate'er thou art, act well thy part, and he does it to the max. All the cards are on the table with him whenever he is in a role. He just goes out there. Yeah. And he offered such a great comparison, such a great juxtaposition to what Elizabeth has become and what she has let herself think she wants,
right,
versus who she used to be and who is trying to get out. You know, he really, and when she turned him down, I thought he did a superb job with his performance right there. Number one, I loved that Elizabeth was scared to tell him. She pulled him aside. It wasn't this big announcement, because sometimes that happens in films like this is, no, I can't marry you in front of the whole party. And that's not nice.
No.
You know, especially engagement party.
I know. And so she pulls him aside. He's clueless, picking up cookies. You know?
Yeah.
And she's nervous She is so scared to say this to him, which is natural. You know, once again, the natural reaction. And she can't think of any other way to tell him how she feels except to tell him a story.
Yeah, that was
it was a brilliant piece of writing and a brilliant piece of acting. And then when she gave him back the ring, he didn't blubber, but he wasn't fine.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times with the quote unquote other man, it's a mutual breakup. He said, "Oh, I'm so glad you said that because I didn't want to get married either." You know?
But he had a plan and she was part of the plan. And
he had a plan. She was part of the plan. He said, yes, it was more his pride than his heart that was wounded, but he still said it. He said, "Is there anything I can say to make you change your mind?" And then she said no. And then he said, "I guess that would be beside the point."
Oh,
he was sad. He was resigned, but it wasn't this, no, I love you. He knew that it was the best thing, but he was still sad about it. And that was a brilliant piece of acting, I think.
Yeah, that was a great scene. Speaking of him too, I really appreciated really just the one scene we get brother to brother at the beginning of the movie when the fiance George is leaving the island to go work on an emergency patient, and then
that the fill-in doctor can't handle. Come on, George.
He's an excellent doctor. He goes, and then obviously that's the point of the movie. He can't come back. There was a big storm. He can't come back for a few days. That's why David and Elizabeth get so much time together. But I keep calling him Michael. George, not George Michael. George and David have this scene together that is really sweet, and it's brother to brother. One of them's joking around a little bit, one of them's a little bit serious, but they're very self-aware, and you see the love there. So I was thankful for that little scene. I loved that. But I really to say someone that you guys haven't said yet, because I really love all the characters that you mentioned as well, but I liked the mom. I thought she was so loving. She was so kind. She had said about Elizabeth, Elizabeth, who we've all loved forever, like she just was a real rock steady character, you could tell, in all of their lives. And if we're talking about hopes for a sequel, which I think we need to talk about next, I would not be opposed to the mom finding a little second chance love in her life as well. That would be a great storyline to me.
Oh man, yes.
After her
I already have a title.
Go ahead.
I already have a title for the sequel. So if Kathy Close needs some help, it's called "It Was Always Us."
Right.
So
it was always us.
It was always us. I mean, it writes itself.
That's a perfect title. So for our sequel, It Was Always Us, what would you want to see then in the sequel, Caroline?
They travel, like maybe destination wedding. There we go.
There you go.
I'm going to let them travel. Aaron and Tyler, get your passport ready.
Awesome. What about you, Kami?
Well, I mean, definitely a wedding. We have got to see a wedding, but I would also love to see a proposal.
Yes.
Because so many times we jump to the wedding. Because, even though we get an account of the proposal, and it was a horrible proposal, in the break room, looked at each other. It's a logical time to do it.
You knew
that
it
goes
wasn't
against
work.
everything I believe in. But we still didn't see it. And I would love to see him propose, especially because he has so much history with her. He would incorporate that. He would incorporate that. Maybe Maybe they're going to Italy and they're visiting all those places where he didn't know where any of those things were, but I'll go with you.
Right.
You know, maybe
Or
he proposes there, or he proposes with the ring on the rabbit's foot or so.
Sure.
Yeah, I would love to see
In
a
the popcorn.
proposal.
Yeah.
In the popcorn.
In the treehouse.
In the
There you
treehouse.
go.
On the ladder. I mean, let's incorporate all of these awesome moments.
How many proposals is this woman gonna get?
I mean, if anyone can do it, it's David. Okay, so
for sure. For sure, we would have to see a flying pig or two, I think, on the wedding gift table. I think that would
be so funny.
That would be perfect. Well, I hope it happens. I hope it happens. I hope they give it to us. I hope the numbers speak for themselves as who wanted to, who tuned in, how many people tuned in and kept tuning in as they keep this movie on the air. It has been a success so far. I mean, I just don't see it dying down. Well, there you go. I mean, you can tell why we gave it such high ratings at the very beginning. I think we could do a part 2 podcast and go even deeper into the scenes that we love and the things we love about this movie. But we want to hear from you. We want to know what you liked about it. If you're listening to the podcast on YouTube, we want you to leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel and the Hallmarkies Podcast. If you're listening to it on audio, if you're listening on iTunes, we want you to leave a rating, please, and tell us what you think. What are your laugh out loud moments? What are your swoony moments? Did you cry? Let's pretend you're one of those people who have a critique about this movie. Sure, we want to hear that too, maybe. But find the Hallmarkies Podcast all over social media and let us know what you think. We would love that. So, Caroline, where can people find you on social media?
Twitter at @MetaCarolineR.
Great. Kami, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Kami Drama Girl. My blog is hookedhardy.com. You can also find me Hooked Hardy on Facebook. And you can also find me on Deliver Me a Podcast about Signed, Sealed, Delivered and Hardy's Hotline about When Calls the Heart, which starred 2 of our stars here, Ben Rosenbaum and Aaron Krako.
Go find all of those. Yes, go find all of those and Kami, interact with her there. You can find me on Instagram at Hallmark Comics. That's Hallmark_comics. And I'd love to interact with you on that medium. Also, make sure you check out our patron group. We'd love for you to join our patron group. We have many special events and fun watch-alongs, things like that in the Hallmarkies Podcast. And the merch store to check out, some fun merch over there. So we appreciate all the support. Love that you tuned in. Thank you so much. And we will talk to you again soon. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.